He checked his watch for the third time before the waiter even poured the water. 5 minutes, he told himself. Just 5 minutes, and he'd be out. Adrian Blake wasn't a man who believed in coincidences, let alone fate. At 36, he was the kind of CEO people whispered about, the genius with the frozen heart. Billion-dollar deals didn't shake him, boardroom betrayals didn't break him, but blind dates arranged by his well-meaning assistant. That was his breaking point. Still, here he was, sitting in a dimly lit cafe that smelled of cinnamon and quiet dreams, waiting for a stranger he didn't want to meet. And then she walked in. Not the kind of woman who turned heads because of glitter or glamour, but because something about her felt alive. Her hair was a little messy from the wind, her smile hesitant, but her eyes, God, her eyes carried stories. "Adrian?" she asked, a touch of nervousness in her tone. He nodded, polite, detached. "You must be Maya." She grinned. "Unless there's another woman planning to crash your blind date tonight, yes, that's me." Her humor caught him off guard. He didn't laugh. Not yet, but something about the way she said it made the corner of his mouth twitch, just slightly. He told himself again, 5 minutes. He'd stay long enough to be courteous, make small talk, and leave before dessert. This was just another obligation checked off his list. But life had other plans. Maya Bennett wasn't exactly thrilled about this setup either. Her best friend insisted she get out there, after a long year of heartbreak, layoffs, and helping her ailing mom. She didn't expect much from a man like Adrian Blake. She'd Googled him. Everyone had. Cold, brilliant, too serious to laugh. So when she sat down, she decided to just be herself, the messy, slightly clumsy, overly talkative woman who used humor as armor. "So," she said after a minute, tilting her head, "are you always this quiet, or are you secretly judging my coffee order?" Adrian blinked. "Your coffee order." She smiled mischievously. "Double mocha with extra whipped cream. I can practically hear your thoughts. Sugar-coated immaturity, right?" He almost smirked. "I wasn't judging," he said softly. "Just listening." "Well," she said, raising her cup like a toast, "good luck. Most people don't survive listening to me for more than 10 minutes. That did it." He laughed. Not the polite corporate chuckle he used at events, but a real, warm sound that startled even him. And right there, 5 minutes turned into 10. 10 turned into an hour. The cafe staff dimmed the lights as closing time approached, but neither of them noticed. They'd gone from small talk to deep talk without realizing it, discussing dreams, disappointments, the kind of childhood memories that still echoed in adulthood. He learned that Maya used to teach art at a local school before funding cuts cost her the job. She volunteered now, painting murals with kids in hospitals. She spoke about it with a light in her voice, one that made him feel something he hadn't in years, hope. She learned that Adrian wasn't as cold as the internet made him seem. Behind the CEO title was a man who'd lost his father young and had spent his entire adult life proving he could be strong alone. Success had given him everything, except peace. "Maybe," she said softly, "you've just been running too fast to notice you've already arrived." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and something inside him shifted. That night, Adrian didn't leave after 5 minutes. He stayed until the cafe closed, walking her to her car in the cool evening breeze. "I'm glad I didn't leave early," he said quietly. "Was that your plan?" she teased. He smiled. "It was. But then you laughed." She laughed again, and it became his favorite sound. Over the next few months, what started as a chance encounter grew into something deeper. Adrian found himself leaving the office early, just to walk Maya's rescue dog with her, or sit in her cluttered little apartment filled with paintbrushes and chaos. It was so different from his glass office, cold, organized, predictable. With her, everything was messy, unpredictable, alive. She made him see color where he'd only known gray. But love, as they soon learned, wasn't just about laughter. The first challenge came quietly, like a crack in glass you didn't notice until it spread. Maya's mother's illness worsened. Hospital visits became constant, bills piled up, and her art classes had to stop. She withdrew, not out of lack of love, but because she didn't want to burden him. Adrian tried to help. He offered to cover the medical bills, to get the best doctors, but she refused. "I don't want your money, Adrian," she said, tears trembling in her eyes. "I want you to understand that I need to fight my own battles sometimes." It stung him, not because she rejected his help, but because it reminded him of all the times he'd hidden behind control instead of vulnerability. So he stayed, quietly. No grand gestures, no money, just presence. He sat with her in hospital waiting rooms, brought her coffee when she hadn't slept, held her hand through the tears. And slowly, she let him in again. Months later, when her mother passed peacefully, Maya broke down completely. The strong, cheerful woman he'd fallen for vanished into grief. Adrian didn't know how to fix it, so he didn't try to. He simply stayed. One night, she whispered through tears, "You should go. This isn't what you signed up for." He took her hand gently. "I came for 5 minutes, remember? And I'm still here." That was the night she realized love wasn't about perfection, it was about choosing to stay, even when things fell apart. But the world wasn't done testing them. Adrian's company faced a scandal, an internal betrayal that risked his reputation. Suddenly, the headlines were ruthless, painting him as a heartless executive again. Maya saw how it broke him, how he closed himself off, how the walls he'd once torn down began to rebuild. One evening, she found him sitting alone in his office, the city lights reflecting in his tired eyes. "You're shutting me out," she said softly. "I'm protecting you," he replied. "I don't want you dragged into this." "Adrian," she said, stepping closer, "I don't need you to protect me. I need you to trust me." He looked at her, the woman who'd brought warmth into his cold world, and something inside him cracked again. And this time, he let it. Together, they weathered the storm. Maya stood by him when others walked away. Her laughter returned, so did his courage. The company recovered, stronger and more ethical than before. He started using his position not just for profit, but to fund art programs for underprivileged kids, her dream woven into his legacy. They weren't perfect. They argued, they doubted, they stumbled. But every time life tried to pull them apart, they remembered the café. The 5 minutes that became forever. Years later, on a quiet evening, Adrian brought Maya back to that same café. The same cinnamon scent filled the air. He'd reserved the corner table, the one where she'd first made him laugh. When she sat down, smiling with nostalgia, he slid a small velvet box across the table. "5 minutes, he said, his voice thick with emotion. "That's how long I planned to stay that night. But it only took 5 seconds of your laughter to change everything." Her eyes filled with tears as he knelt. "Maya Bennett, will you stay, forever?" She laughed through her tears, the same sound that had once saved him. "Only if you promise not to leave after 5 minutes." He smiled. Never again. Epilogue. They married in the spring, under a canopy of lights and laughter. The cafe owner closed the shop that day just to host their ceremony. After all, it was where everything began. In the years that followed, their life was far from flawless. They faced challenges, business expansions, personal losses, sleepless nights. But they built a home filled with art, warmth, and 1,000 memories of laughter that could heal any wound. And whenever someone asked how they met, Adrian would smile and say, "I was supposed to leave after 5 minutes. But she laughed, and I stayed forever." Moral. Sometimes love doesn't arrive with fireworks or perfect timing. It sneaks in through laughter, through shared silence, through the decision to stay when it's easier to walk away. Life gives us endless meetings, but only a few moments. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment, one laugh, one choice, to change everything.